This billionaire just accelerated Bitcoin's bull run and the supply shock, but he did it in multiple ways, some of which may surprise you, some of which the Giga Chad Michael Saylor just continues to do every single week. And to start it all off, we all know Michael Saylor and strategy, the Giga Chad. He keeps just buying Bitcoin, loading up literally every single week. It's like clockwork, folks. Every Monday, we have Michael Saylor putting out one of these tweets. But I think the unique aspect of this one here is that he's been buying small $1 million amounts. This time, they raised up over $1 billion without diluting any stock whatsoever. But why do I think that this means we're going to 1 million Bitcoin? Well, it's not just me, bullish green candle, saying all these things. It's Murray, A. Rudd, and Dennis Porter saying that, hey, Bitcoin is expected to reach around 440,000 by June 2026 and 1 million by by early 2027. Excuse me. The reality is, why do they think that? Well, because there's some simple supply and demand economics. Well, what are we seeing? We're seeing the amount of Bitcoin taken off exchanges accelerate. This chart, for those of you who have been coming here pretty frequently lately, know that I'm loving it because the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges just keeps going lower and lower and lower, where we are just over 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges as it stands today. So why is that significant? Well, there's just a shortage of Bitcoin being mined at this point. And we have Michael Saylor and MSTR copycats popping up literally everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. You can't make this up. We've got so much stuff, so much buying going on. It's the new craze. I mean, we got my this tweet from my friend over here, Luke Mikic, the guy with the crazy haircut, showing that the amount of Bitcoin that Michael Saylor bought with about 450 mined every single day, that's literally 22 days worth of supply just by a single company. On top of that, we have Metaplanet doing something very similar, buying 1,112 Bitcoin for 172 million. That's over 2 days of supply just there. So between those two, we nearly got a month. But the interesting thing is that AP News and mainstream media is now starting to pick up on this strategy. They're calling it, quote, crypto's hottest new trend, publicly traded companies buying bunches of Bitcoin. So the reality is that Saylor's strategy has now gone mainstream. Everybody and their mother is talking about it. They all know, hey, we need to put Bitcoin on our balance sheet because cash is trash. Everybody was saying cash is king a couple years ago with the whole cerveza sickness that everybody went through with these companies losing out on all of their dollars. But the reality is now everybody's realizing, hey, I need to be putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet or I'm going to be falling behind. I mean, look at this. If I was covering this a year ago, we'd see the publicly traded number well under 40. Now we see it at over 130. That's literally 3x in less than a year. And then we see public or private companies announcing this. They have no need to necessarily promote that they're buying Bitcoin, but we have that happening. The crazy thing is, it's even scooped up into the real estate market. I mean, look at this. We had Grant Cardone. I've had Gary on this show, friend of the program. Grant Cardone announced this literally right before I went live, so I had to include it. That Cardone Capital is distributing $20 million to investors in June and adds another 120 Bitcoin on its balance sheet. So even private companies run by a real estate mogul that has allegedly one of the most stable assets on the planet that's distributing from just strictly cash flow is using some of that leftover money to buy Bitcoin right now as it stands. So we have that. We have other companies, plenty of them, that you and I probably have not heard of that are raising to buy Bitcoin. DDC Enterprises, to be honest with you, I had no idea what they did before I started doing this. Right before, they raised 26 million PIPE, 300 million convertible notes, 200 million equity line, and a 2 million equity from private placement for 528 million of funding to accelerate its Bitcoin treasury strategy. So they already started doing this Bitcoin treasury strategy. They just really wanted to speed things up. They saw Bitcoin's price skyrocket in flight, and they're like, we got to scoop some of this trash up real quick. I don't know why I said trash, but I was gonna swear. I know this is a kid's show, so can't be doing that here. And then we also have this company, Vivan BTC. It's a London Bitcoin company on the London Stock Exchange that has raised 3.5 million pounds to expand its Bitcoin treasury. Look, all I know is if it's GBP, the price goes up when it's in USD. So the pound's worth a little bit more than the dollar. So I imagine this is just under $4 million for the Bitcoin treasury. So all of this is accelerating, and I've been sharing this for a while that Wells Fargo, one of the biggest banks on the planet, is seeing a rise in this. So it's not just me and all of these people in the Bitcoin space saying this. We now have AP News, one of the biggest media outlets in the entire world, the globe, covering this. We have Wells Fargo, a top 20 bank in the world, literally coming out and saying the unsung hero, the most unappreciated story of Bitcoin in 2025 is that it's tapping in to the $300 trillion bond market. Look, that's a stat from Wells Fargo. I tried to look it up to see if I could find it at that $300 trillion mark. But the global bond market, according to Google's AI over here, is only 135 trillion. Either way, we are seeing Bitcoin absolutely take off. And who do we have to blame? The guy, Michael Saylor, because he's unlocked this MSTR flywheel that I love to show. And I honestly don't even think that this covers all of it, because the strategies that they've been using are just essentially becoming more and more complex. But in reality, all he's doing is just this right here. He's issuing debt to buy more Bitcoin. The Bitcoin price is increasing. The MSTR market cap is increasing. Then he's issuing more equity or just getting some more convertible notes. Bitcoin price, market cap, the weight in the indices, they all keep increasing. And the reality is that, we're seeing this from my friend Punter Jeff. He said every $100,000 increase in Bitcoin, MSTR makes $59.2 billion. And that's just as it stands today. So the reality of this whole situation is that the more Bitcoin goes up and the more that MSTR keeps buying, that growth is just going to be exponential. So a 10x growth in Bitcoin, or just under that right now as it stands, you see a $59 billion increase just to their, quote, cash reserves on MSTR. So as long as they're able to continue buying more Bitcoin, continuing to raise debt to buy more Bitcoin, we're going to see more of these corporations start to copy it. The problem is that all of these guys, they just were too late to the game. Look at this. They are starting to buy more and more Bitcoin, and you all see all these charts here. MSTR, Marathon. Okay, well, now we've got 21. Look at this, just straight up to the right. Riot, CleanSpark, Tesla. Tesla is one of the one bears that is selling, but we've got Metaplanet. We've got all of these starting to move up and buy more and more Bitcoin. These charts look like Bitcoin's chart, where it's up and to the right, skyrocketing in flight, as I love to say here on this show. But we've got Bitcoin just fallen so slightly by $1,000 here. 1.2 thousand here at 105 because of, some various geopolitical factors that we have going on today. But the reality of the situation is that it's just a matter of time. I mean, Dennis Porter and Satoshi Action Fund talked about this not too long ago. They issued this prior to this date of June 15th. I remember going over this earlier this year, where they were talking about the projections of Bitcoin going to $1 million in 2027. The reality is this might have accelerated this just because of the amount of buying that we're seeing. And this chart here, where we're seeing the amount of Bitcoin going off exchanges at a drastic rate. Now, I'm going to help you guys and get some of your Bitcoin off an exchange, or just give you some Bitcoin that you don't need to keep on an exchange, thanks to my friends over at the Bitcoin Well. You could go to bitcoinwell.com/green candle. You could do exactly what I'm doing here. As soon as you sign up, you're going to get 500 wishing well tokens. Then once you buy Bitcoin, you're going to get 500 more wishing well tokens. That's 2 chances for you to win 1 million sats. So get your Lightning wallets ready, as we will be giving you some free sats courtesy of my friends over at the Bitcoin Well. So let's see what we got here. Not going to lie to you guys, my internet's a little shoddy, so hopefully it goes through. But while we're waiting for it, boom, 504 sats straight to the dome piece. Make sure you guys are smoking that like Cheech and Chong, and hitting that subscribe button with the bell notifications so you guys know when I'm ripping and rolling and ready to give you guys some free sats. But if you missed this, if you're one of those guys that got out their Lightning wallets a little bit slow here, you could go to bitcoinwell.com/green candle. You can go sign up today. I encourage you guys to do that ASAP like Rocky. And if you got 50K just sitting here waiting, what are you doing? 1. But 2, unload that dry powder utilizing their OTC desk here at Bitcoin Well Infinite. You could just go to that page, scroll on down, book a call ASAP. And don't forget, you got to put it in cold storage, folks. You got to get a Bitbox. Go to bitbox.swiss. You could get the O2. I prefer the Bitcoin only edition. But look, I know if you've dabbled in a little, altcoins here or there, they've got that solution for you too. I just say buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin only. Either way, you can use promo code Green Candle. You could get all that, Steel Wallet and all, and get your Bitcoin off an exchange faster than I could do this entire live stream. I'll tell you that much. All right. Well, what else do we have here? I hinted at it at the start. We've got some of the most bullish news that I've seen as well. Michael Saylor not only has orange-pilled corporations around the globe, he has done it to multiple governments, the latest being Pakistan, one of the largest countries in the Middle East. Now, why do I think that this is interesting? Well, it's a very energy-dense country, not only that, but it's also a move towards getting a little bit closer to that BRICS region. We've already seen Michael Saylor orange pill Brazil and come down and have a secret meeting. We'll get into that here in a minute. But Pakistan is entrusting somebody from the United States to say, hey, we want you to be our strategic crypto advisor for everything here going forward, everything Bitcoin related. And what is Michael Saylor, right? He's a Bitcoin maxi to the T. So he's not going to let Pakistan make any mistakes here. And he's going to tell them to keep buying and buying and buying Bitcoin. Now, the interesting aspect of Pakistan is that it is the 45th country by GDP. Now, would you looky here? Look at the 44th here. We got the Czech Republic, where I am sitting here coming to you guys live from Prague. Well, what happened here recently in the Czech Republic? We saw the Czech Republic could become the West's first country to have a national bank to hold crypto assets. We've also had their central bank conduct research on buying Bitcoin and holding it as a strategic reserve asset. Who also is linked to the Czech Republic, or to Prague for that matter? Well, the Giga Chad himself, Michael Saylor. He's spoken at this very conference that I'm here for literally the past 3 years. He's had outstanding speeches, and it seems like every destination that he goes to, he's meeting with the presidents or very influential people. Michael Saylor also did the same thing in Portugal, in the island of Madeira. Now, the Madeira Island is one of the more unique circular economies because it's a circular economy that's very far away from its mainland. But the interesting aspect is that Saylor's connected to all of these different nation states that are looking to build these circular economies and move forward in that respect. And, we looked at this not too long ago that Brazil, the largest country in Latin America, Michael Saylor is making a secret visit and praised Bitcoin adoption by Brazilian banks. He's also had a ton of unique things to say about the currency of Brazil, saying that nobody's going to buy that. Everybody's going to look at Bitcoin and not the Brazilian currency, because the Brazilian currency is just strictly way too volatile. And all of these other nation states are now looking at, hey, should we look to include Bitcoin on the balance sheet? Now, what was the other inflation hedge that they all looked to put on previously? Well, it was gold. And we're starting to see gold reserves really start to fall down a little bit here. We're starting to see gold reserves be in question. The United States just had a potential audit of Fort Knox, but they found out it would take way too long. So is the gold that is being claimed here as of December 24th, is that actually there? Germany is the second largest holder of gold in the world, but I don't know if we can really trust these numbers. It's not like everybody is going around and verifying these numbers, right? But something that we can verify is how much Bitcoin is held by different countries, which is interesting because we don't have to look at, we don't have to look at all of these different audits or the amount of time that it could take. What we do see is we see that China and the US are the top two leaders here. And we, interestingly enough, have UK, and we had Germany, who is the second biggest holder in gold, sell off all of their Bitcoin. Well, soon, I imagine more of these countries are going to pop up, especially as Michael Saylor keeps making this global world tour. Now, the interesting aspect of what he has with Pakistan goes back and relates to what he's proposed, in my opinion, to the United States. Of course, I've been covering this for a little bit, but he's proposed that the U.S. buy up to 25% of the overall supply of Bitcoin. So there's 21 million. But if you look at River and some of these other reports that have been published, majority of people think there's close to 2.5 to 3 million Bitcoin lost. So they estimate about 18.5 million is just the total supply as of today, accounting for some of these lost coins. So that 5 million Bitcoin that he's proposing is actually more than that 25%. He said at a minimum, the United States should be looking at buying 1 million Bitcoin. Now, where did he get that 1 million number? He got it from Senator Cynthia Lummis, who at first, she was a pioneer of this whole space and thinking that there was no shot that we could ever see the United States buying up to 1 million Bitcoin. Of course, she's dug her foot in the stand and really tried to get this moving along. And there seems to be significant progress. But as I was saying, we really haven't gotten to a point where we are seeing these being acted on just yet. We're seeing several states start to include Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and that seems to be accelerating. But the Bitcoin Act looked to put 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, so 200,000 Bitcoin a year, with a minimum holding period of 2 decades. I mean, how can you get more bullish than that statement there? They're like, hey, we want to put 1 million Bitcoin on the balance sheet over 5 years. So we're going to tell literally everybody and their mother, hey, we are buying Bitcoin right here, right now. And we're doing this 200,000 Bitcoin over the course of a year because we want to get the cost basis right. Wall Street's going to front run it. Publicly traded companies who have access to these debt markets are going to do it. And they're tapping into that Bitcoin bond or to that bond market that I was describing earlier. I mean, Wells Fargo is even talking about it. BlackRock has outwardly said we are seeing investors flee from bond markets and get towards Bitcoin. Now, it really makes you think. We've got literally two of the largest asset managers in the world saying, hey, you know what? Hand up. Bitcoin is starting to take some of this market share of the $300 trillion global bond market. That is just insane. It's ludicrous. And on top of it, we're going to have nation states start to look at Bitcoin as a viable asset. And if you look at assets by market cap, we've seen Bitcoin skyrocket up to become the 7th largest asset by market cap on the heels of Google. It's been passing Google, and Google's been passing Bitcoin as the volatility goes. But the 6th to 7th largest asset in the world in just a 15 to 16 year time period. It's absolutely crazy. At first, it was just for criminals and everything else, but now Bitcoin's being legitimized. And the reality is that traditional finance isn't even here yet. They're waiting. They're still looking at the volatility. Oh, maybe it's too volatile. They don't want to put a ton of, of their portfolios into it. If you do the math, about 20% of portfolios should allocate some to Bitcoin. 20% of that, 100% of their overall portfolio. But the reality is that these asset managers are saying, hey, we're going to put in 25 basis points to maybe 2 to 3%. So they're very minimal. But I mean, I've had traditional financial guys come in and say the numbers work all the way up to 20%. Everybody is just worried about the volatility with Bitcoin yet right now. So the reality is traditional finance hasn't caught up yet. And once this strategic Bitcoin reserve comes and is actually written into law and the United States starts to buy Bitcoin, well, that's going to make things accelerate. And Michael Saylor is out here, boots on the ground, going to everybody and their mother and talking to them, saying, hey, we need to buy Bitcoin, do it ASAP like Rocky. I mean, it's actually, honestly, ridiculous here that we are not seeing more nation states come on board. But I think we're going to start to see that here pretty soon. I mean, it's not a strategic reserve bill, but we're seeing the Asian nation of Kyrgyzstan considering a Bitcoin strategic reserve. They haven't happened yet, but then we also saw Thailand today just voted to eliminate capital gains to promote the country as a crypto hub. So we all know Thailand is a big, big spot for digital nomads, but the reality is Thailand is the 26th country by GDP. So we've got a lot of tourism in Thailand, but we also have a decent amount of wealth just floating around there. So these countries that are starting to come on board are bigger and bigger. And we're going to start to see that come up, especially as we start to see this number go up. Look, we haven't really seen it yet, but I mean, if you zoom out here, right, year to date, 13%. Everybody's been talking about tariffs this, tariffs that. We've had a lot of, potential geopolitical conflicts going on here recently, and we still have Bitcoin up 13% year to date. The honey badger don't care, folks. We're going to still see Bitcoin pump on. So Benny Hanna's in the chat saying, I just gave away a mountain bike for his great-great-granddaughter. Potentially with those 500 sats, you never know. Giving away generational wealth. Hey, man, Bitcoin's generational run is continuing. Knox Bill, hey, man, it's not just me saying this 1 million mark. A lot of people are tossing it around. Down under blues, I'm in Europe, man. I mean, it's 3:13 here, man. I gotta get up and at 'em. I have too much energy to not be ripping with you guys as of today. I can't be waiting all night long. But one thing that you shouldn't wait on is actually protecting and storing your Bitcoin and doing it properly. This is why I'm dressed like a funeral director on this very website, thebitcoinway.com/greencandle. The folks at Bitcoin Way have literally over 25 years of cybersecurity experience. They can help you get your Bitcoin off an exchange, do it securely. They will never touch your private keys or do anything along those lines. They just want to help you and make you feel comfortable about taking your Bitcoin off exchange. So you can go to thebitcoinway.com/greencandle, and I'm going to give you a free 30-minute consultation. You can see what they can help you with because they got a lot of tools in that toolbox that they can help you create and store that generational wealth. So do it today, do it fast, because we're seeing national banks and banking industry start to really look at putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We've got nation states, we've got central banks, we've got corporations around the globe starting to do it. We've got Brazilian banks, and soon enough, we're going to have the US banks. I mean, we had JP Morgan allowing Bitcoin, allowing their clients to hold Bitcoin. And then now they're offering financing to their clients where they could get Bitcoin backed loans here, despite the Basel crypto rules, right? I mean, it's crazy. We're seeing everybody literally start to bend the knee to Bitcoin, and they're going to do it quick. So make sure you guys are smoking that like Cheech and Chong, hitting that subscribe button, telling a friend to tell a friend. I'm going to go catch a beer over here in Prague. So I hope to see some of you guys out here. Come and bug me. Come and kick me in the chest. Tell me what you love about my channel or what you hate. And I hope to interact with a bunch of you guys out here in Prague. So I'll catch you guys at the next one.